Of course, we all know, got it. Of course, we all know it is difficult. We talked about small grant projects in the sense of projects that are maximum of $75,000 and 1 to 2 years in project implementation. So this means very little time, very little money. And often we run out of time or we run out of money even during project implementation, let alone what happens after the project. We also often run into unexpected problems and events, again, during the project, but also after the project, when we think we have done something that might be sustainable and go on after the project ends. New unexpected problems can maybe pop up, like COVID, for instance, a health crisis that we didn't plan for. And then how does this sustainability sustain itself after in the context of those events? So it is very difficult. At the same time, it is also possible. I just want to give you one small example of a small grant project that started in 1994 in Kenya with $50,000. This was a project on butterfly farming to conserve a forest. And this project is still going 27 years later, has sustained itself financially because it has raised $2.2 million since 1994. It is institutionally embedded within local organizations that can sort of withhold those stresses. And it is ecologically sound because they monitor populations of these butterflies to make sure they don't actually collapse. So it is possible. And this is sort of shows you how these revenues occurred. So it's all very much record keeping, what happened in those 27 years. And it also shows you that even now, external threats occur. The forest is still under threat by oil exploration or titanium mining. And it is now the local people who are these butterfly farmers who are protesting against the destruction of this forest. So it really is a sustainable project in the sense of ecological, financial and institutional sustainability. So it's possible. Nevertheless, not easy. Everybody is aware of that. So what we wanted to do is look at sustainability both from the side of the donors who are basically setting the parameters. They say $75,000 is what we're going to give you 1 or 2 years. This is what you have to do your project. And what do they then expect in terms of sustainability? But we also want to look at what you think as conservation practitioners. What is actually possible? What has worked? What has not worked? And try to do some sharing. So in terms of donors, we asked 12 small grant donors some questions about sustainability, and we got 11 responses. All of these donors ask questions about sustainability in the application form. So it is important to them. Some ask very specific questions. They really want to know specific things. Most of them ask very general questions, like, how is your project going to be sustainable? So it's up to you to define what you're going to answer. Often, sustainability is also among the criteria for external reviewers. So you get points for your answer on sustainability as part of the decision-making of these donors. So what we found out when we kept asking questions, donors have specific expectations about sustainability on their small grants, even if these expectations are not very well described or provided in the guidelines. So sustainability is a very important factor in your project application. Donors do not want blah, blah, blah answers, no general jargon. You have to be very, very specific, which means you have to know what you're doing and you have to know what you're going to answer. It's also very good to understand what the expectations of these donors are. So talk to them. Lots of donors are actually allowing you to talk to them, so do so. Because even though it's not very clear sometimes what they're looking for, they do have expectations. And the more you know about them, the better you can answer those questions. So, going to give you a very, very small overview of what these expectations are. But as I said, if you leave your email address in the chat box, then please do so we can actually share with you the whole download, because there's a lot of information and the details are important. So donors look at project design. make sure you address the right problem in the right place, doing the right thing. Because if you don't, by default, not sustainable. So your project design has to be sound. Your proposal has to be good. And the question about sustainability often comes at the end, last question on the last page, but you have to make sure that your sustainability runs across all sections of the proposal. So also when you talk about stakeholders, or also when you talk about solutions and problems, and also when you talk about your budget, it has to be mainstreamed across your proposal. And of course, in terms of project implementation, ensure you do it right. Produce high quality products. For one, it will help you with financial sustainability because a good project will lead to more funding. But also, if you produce good products, other people can pick up and use them. And a lot of small grants, of course, are really sort of aimed at that. They're aimed at finding sort of a kickoff thing, like a product of a tool that other people can use in their application. So communicate about this and share. We didn't actually ask questions about ecological sustainability because we're talking about conservation grants. Not necessarily means that every conservation project is by themselves ecologically sustainable, but in this case, we're really focused on financial and institutional sustainability. Financial sustainability, interesting points to remember is that co-financing is important, whether it is in kind or in cash, whether it comes from yourself or from other people, it is important. And if donors ask for it, provide it. If donors don't ask for it, maybe you also want to provide it because it does give them some sense of reassurance. Creating new funding streams, not very easy with a small grant, but if you can, it is a very, very much recommended. If you can reduce costs by working with volunteers, then that of course will also help. Or if you can embed your project results or activities into government funding, make it part of the government's budget, perfect. If you can create some level of support to make sure that your equipment gets maintained, your technology gets upgraded, these are the things you need to think about. A longer term plan that shows that you've thought about the future. This then leads to my last point, last slide, and this is about institutional sustainability. And again, two sides to the coin here. There's internal institutional sustainability, which really shows, you have to show that you are the right organization to do this job. That you're not just in it for the money, you're just not chasing the fund, but you have a clear vision and mission that is in line with your project, that you have a longer term strategy, shows that you are working at this site before, you'll be working at this site after, so it is part of a longer term plan and strategy for the project and for your organization. Also, that you as an organization are building the capacity of your own staff. You would want to keep them, that you are a reliable and credible and well-managed organization. All of this helps, of course, with sustainability. And then you're not just a suitcase or whatever organization that just runs after the money from one place to the next, but that you're really properly and committed to what you're trying to achieve. And in terms of institutional stability in sustainability, you also need to look at external sustainability with working with other stakeholders. This could be government, it could be the owners of the land, this could be specifically local communities. This came back from donors again and again and again, that this should again not be just a tick box exercise, but really, truly a project that is driven by the communities with ownership from the communities and which the communities actually, have helped design, implement, monitor, and sustain. So that's extremely important. Also, what they really like to see is that it is a dedicated champion to keep the work going after the project ends, that they are funding. So that could be yourself, your organization, could be the government, could be the communities, could be, but at least give a name to it. These are the people who are going to keep this work going. The more you can define who that champion is, the better, and describe this very, very, very well. Not just say, yeah, somebody will do it, these people will do it. So this is in a very, very, very short 10-minute presentation about what we found from these donors. As I said, more information will be made available through the paper that we will produce. What we want to do today is find out what you think. Can small projects be sustainable? And we're going to put you in sort of breakout groups, and we have 4 questions that we would like you to think about, and we're going to give these questions also in the chat box. But the key things are, we want you to think about, when do you start thinking about sustainability? Not too early, not too late, but where exactly? What are the key areas of your project that you will try to sustain, and what do you need to do then to make them sustainable? So what and how are you going to make your project sustainable? The third question is about, the second question, we want to really find success factors, best practices, things that worked. Then the third question is things that didn't work. You had probably project activities that you wanted to be sustainable, you tried to make them sustainable, but it didn't work. So what are the lessons learned there? What went wrong, and how can we learn from that? And then the last question is, as much as donors have their expectations about small grant funding and the sustainability thereof, what do we think about that? What are the recommendations we can make to donors about what they ask for in terms of project sustainability? So those are the 4 questions we would like to ask. We've got 30 minutes, so I will stop talking immediately and hand back over to Leland to help us with the breakout groups. Then we'll come back, feedback the discussions from the group, and we'll wrap up, and that will be the end. So off we go.
Great, thank you so much, Micah. So there's a few questions which are coming into the chat box. I'll try and respond to those when we come back into the session. But we're going to break you up into 3 groups. Each group will be facilitated either by myself, by Leela, or by Micah. We'll have a set amount of time to respond to those 4 questions. We would like each group to assign 1 person who can present back to plenary, and we'll have about 3 minutes each for the person to present back the sort of the key findings, a super short amount of time, which Micah will then synthesize and put into a report document that she'll be able to send out to everybody. So the questions are in the chat box. We'd love you to keep your videos on so we can replicate that workshop scenario. And please don't hesitate to ask the facilitators any questions as we go along. You know, are we okay with the breakout groups?
All set here.
Fantastic.
Great.
So we'll see you all.
Oh, sure. We'll see you all back here in 32 minutes. Thanks.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a hard stop.
Yeah, that was very hard.
Sorry.
Welcome back, everyone.
Yes.
And thank you. It was a hard stop. We are really pressed for time, and I hope we didn't cut you off straight in the middle of a sort of really crucial comment. If you want to finish off that comment in the chat box, please do. We have 9 minutes left, so we're going to have let's try and be really on the money. Have 3 minutes from each group to feedback some of the high level. You can do it less than 3 minutes. Wonderful. The high level findings from each of those questions. Let's start with group 1, then move straight to group 2, and then group 3, and we'll finally have the wrap up from Micah. Who's the representative from group 1?
Sumeda will be doing for group 1.
Yeah, so we had a very fantastic discussion in our group, and I can just summarize what we have discussed. Yes, all of us, we have agreed to that sustainability about the project is the very at the beginning of the project is the most important thing that we have to think about during giving a proposal or writing a proposal. Then we had come up with And not only that, while writing the proposal, we have to really think not just sustainability, but if you want to run the project or the project you want to carry it forward for a longer period of time, then we have to think about the risk assessment. Then we have to think about the monitor and how you will adjust the project will get adjusted, adapt to the changing environment. So that is also we have to think about. Then along with the local participation, it is also very important that government involvement or institutional embedding is very important along with the local participation. So that is what now we had mostly discussed about it. And the essence of the project should continue. I think I have covered most of the points.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Sumedha, and great timing as well. Group two, thank you very much. Pramod, you're volunteering to feedback from group two.
Okay, thank you. So again, we talked about the sustainability regarding first question. We had a different kind of feedback. Some people said that, okay, after midterm of the first, I mean, in between, we should start thinking about it, that where project is going and how it can be continued to raise funds. Someone said that, okay, after, I mean, we should wait for the result, and then if it making sense, then we can continue thinking about sustainability of the project. And regarding second question, like over promising should be not, I mean, we should not, being a young researcher, we should not over promise to funding agency. And we all, someone has also saying that political will is also very important for sustainability of the project, whether people are getting, as a researcher, getting support from local authority or not. Like bureaucracy would be another example, that they're getting support. In some countries, permission is very important. Even people, researchers get funding from different funding agencies, but local agencies are not giving them permission on time to continue those projects, and that becomes very important role for the sustainability of the project. And some cases, even those bureaucracy decline the permission in between the project. So that's also very important for the sustainability of the project. And another thing, like in between, we should also assess that where we have capacity to run that project or not. It would be like subject expert or anything else. So identifying those gaps, that where as a team we have a lack of the capacity, whether fundraising or expertise and whatever it is, networking. So those things are also important. And we also discussed recommendation for funding agencies. Like if application is getting rejected, so it's very important to give them feedback that why those application got rejected, and that because that play a very important role. I mean, it's also applicant also get encouraged that they can reapply, they can improve on themselves. And there was another recommendation for the funding agency is that they should not change their area, I mean, subject area, whatever they are funding very frequently, especially for the young, where they are providing funds for young researchers. So because it's get little bit, people get, I mean, less opportunity to get fund. So those were.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut you short there. Thank you very much indeed. And we'll have the three to volunteer from group three. Who's going to feedback from that session? Thank you, Upma.
Yeah. So apart from what Pramod and Sumedha said, I think one key point that came was that so diversifying the pool of donors for your project. So you can have a big idea, you can have a big goal, but then have multiple small projects within that project. So you ensure that at one point, at least one component is ongoing, so that ensures the sustainability of your project. and also to ensure that how your project fits the big picture, how and what comes towards the end. So smaller projects connected to a larger goal, it gives a sense of accomplishment to the donor. So that is a key point. And other than that, Ogeta raised this issue that how many funders or donors, they don't fund monitoring projects, and monitoring is key to ensure sustainability of a project. So that is somewhere where, we need to think about. And then I added that how government, like at least in case of India, Indian government is providing fund for monitoring based projects. For we have this long-term ecological monitoring going on. And then citizen science projects, like if you involve more, if you involve people, so that ensures that your project is on going on. And in case of failure, what Pramod said, that internal politics at institution, this was raised, that that could be one of the major cause for failures. So I think rest of the points are covered by were covered by group 1 and 2. And Leela, because you were also taking notes, so if I have missed any point.
That was great.
Thank you so
Upma.
much.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, Upma. I think we have 2 minutes left. Wrapping up is Micah, our session. Thank you so much, everybody. Micah, over to you.
Thank you. I'm really impressed that I still have time to wrap up. So you've all done amazingly well. Fantastic. I'm so pleased to hear that everybody has been thinking about sustainability during their project design, and not only at the end of the application form when the question is being asked by the donor. Absolutely brilliant. It is really something that has to be mainstreamed, if you like, in the project design, and it has to be part of all of the problem you identify, the solutions you identify, the stakeholders you work with. The stakeholders have to be part of the project design, etc. So it looks like you've got all of that already in your head, which is for me a brilliant discovery. Success factors, I think you mentioned quite a lot. Information, funding, working with communities, get support from the government, make sure the message and the narrative is clear so that people feel it in their hearts and minds. Capacity building, starting small and then maybe upscaling into something bigger, or at least working within a bigger picture. Filling gaps that you don't overpromise and then end up with an under delivery, which is of course never a good idea. Think of the unexpected. We discussed. Think of the things that you didn't think about. Really think through all the risks and threats that might occur, and see what can we build into our project design to absorb those shocks if and when they occur. So all of this absolutely fantastic. In terms of the recommendations we're going to give to donors, we will do this. Definitely those 12 donors that we have asked for input into this session, we will tell them, fund capacity building, fund monitoring, don't change your objectives. We talk about sort of supporting young researchers, etc. Give us feedback when applications get rejected so we can learn from it. But the one that came out of my group that wasn't mentioned yet, and I would like to close off with that one, is why don't donors actually, they don't have to give more money, but they just give money over a longer period of time. So we start with a fund, we set something up, and then we have 5-10 years, whatever, that we can actually sustain it. We can just follow up, we can do this monitoring. Won't cost the donor a lot of money, but it gives us that reassurance and security that we can actually follow up and then adjust and adapt as and when necessary to make sure that our grants do achieve these objectives in the long term. So I think that was a brilliant thought with which I would like to end this session. And we definitely need donor commitment to this, because sustainability is not just a matter of the applicant, grantee, practitioner, but it is also very much the responsibility of donors. So totally agree with that. I'm sorry if there were any questions in the chat box that I haven't answered. We will, of course, take the chat box with us, and we will copy it and take it down. If I know who the question is coming from, I will still respond to you by email afterwards. So your questions have not been asked in vain. and we will get back to you. For those of you who really want to get the whole write-up, both from the donor end, from the questionnaire that we did with the donors, as well from what came out of this group, please leave your email address. And again, we will send you the whole write-up with everything that we have learned. So thank you for your inputs, been fantastic. It was way too fast, flash in the pan, but I still think we got something out of it, at least I did. So thank you so much for that. I know I have to stop now, 1 minute past the hour, so thank you.
Thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Yes, very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.